Hey guys, this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to do some levitation photos. Really cool. So as you're kind of thinking about this and how you're going to do this, you have to really think about what you're going to be using, what the person's going to be using, what they're doing in the photo, where that photo is going to be taken. All right. Um, and you really want to be really creative with this. All right. A couple of things to kind of think about is when we're doing this, really what we're doing, we're taking two photos. We're going to take a photo of just a backdrop, and then we're going to take a photograph of the person on a ladder or on something. But you want to make sure that you're being safe, okay? If this person had both feet on that ladder, it'll be pretty obvious that they're standing on something, okay? Even that, see that, like that point right there, she looks like she's standing on something. All right, so you really try to want to think about like the how that's going to look in the end. We can even Photoshop maybe her pointing her toe over, and then Photoshop that over so it doesn't look like she's standing on anything. Okay. Um, so a lot of people, what they do is like with dresses. Okay, they go ahead and because dresses you can kind of hide the where the person is standing over. Okay. Um, hide the object, but you can see that there is a little bit of a pinch like right there, but you would have to actually get in there and afterwards and Photoshop that out so it looks like it's coming down. All right. You don't want it looking like she's laying on anything like that, something that's flat. So dresses are really neat because you can kind of mimic that over. Okay, like if we erase that stool, that'll be pretty easy to do, but you gotta have to set that up a little bit. All right. um, so I yesterday I kind of went in my yard and did this with my daughter as a quick tutorial. And again, with you guys, spend some time to really come up with some creative ideas. All right. Um, when you're starting this, it's important that you get your camera. Yeah, I mean, you can use your cell phone if you didn't have a camera. All right. If you do have a camera, use a camera because it's going to be better than your cell phone. But if you don't, a cell phone would be better. Okay, so or not a sorry, will do. um, so I had a tripod. If you don't have a tripod, you're gonna have to come up with something that the camera doesn't move, because those two shots you want to be identical. All right, where the camera's in that same exact spot. All right, so you can see here. This is kind of what we came up with. I had her in two different spots, okay? But we have her on the ladder here, and then we have the background. And you can see that the camera did not move. Some of the wind, it was a little bit windy yesterday. You can see that the tree branches moved a little bit, okay? That's not a big deal. I'm worried about, the entire camera moving if this is in a different spot, okay? The rocks and whatnot. All right, so I'm going to do this tutorial in Photoshop and in Photopea. It's really the exact same way, but I'll do it just so you guys could see it on both sides. When I set her up, you can see I moved her leg here a little bit forward of that ladder. I noticed that when she was behind that ladder, that ladder actually was in front of her leg, and I knew if I edited that in Photoshop, that this will be kind of chopped out. So you want to make sure that you got to think about that as you're taking that shot. Okay. Um, all right. Then you can see that this shot. Okay. Let's see if I can pull up the image. I got a file open. The ladder was actually in the was in the way. Let's see if I can pull that up. And I had to Photoshop that out. So where is she here? So I'm going to pull that out. See how the ladder, like if I zoomed in, see how the ladder is actually in like right here. So I had to actually grab some of this and clone stamp that in here, okay? And then up there too. All right, I don't know if you could see it. See that? It's right there, and then in here. So I had to kind of Photoshop that out afterwards, and that's just using the that's just using see what I did. That's just using the clone stamp, and I grabbed this, and we did that before. Remember how we did that? Let me pull that over. So if I grabbed a clone stamp tool, all right. Let's say if I wanted, and I hold on Option to define a source. So if I went a little bit bigger, held on Option to define a source, and brought that over. See how the copies that over? So I'm bringing some of that of her leg on top of her shirt. All right, but that's what I use to kind of hide that ladder. All right. All right, so kind of going back, I'm gonna let's go ahead and show you guys how to edit that. All right. So let's just work with two images. So we have the base layer with nothing on it, and then we have the person sitting on the ladder. Okay. So I'm gonna grab my move tool and I click and I drag, hold it down, keep holding it down, put it on top, and then go ahead and let go. And you can kind of move this around, and it should snap right into place. Okay. And what you could do is turn on and off that layer to see if that looks good. All right. You can also do is you can also bring the opacity down and see how like it looks, and just kind of make sure it lines up. All right. That looks good. I'm going to bring that opacity back up, and now you have to click on the masking layer, and that's this little button right there. Okay. So we click on that, and that makes a little masking on this side here. Okay. And that's what the eraser, when we click on that, that's where we're going to be erasing on. Okay. Do not use this to erase on. And I'll show you why in a little bit. Okay. If look over here and make sure that is that's white and black, okay, or black and white. You if it's gray, okay, let's say if this was gray, if you click on this little box right there, that forces that to be black and white. All right. And now I can go ahead and grab my eraser, okay, and if I click up here, I can control my size of my brush. All right, bring that over. And I can also control the hardness. So let me show you what I'm going to bring this all the way up to 100, and I'm going to show you what that does. Okay, so I'm just going to erase this. Okay, and if it's not erasing, make sure that white's on top. If black was on top, it gets it back. So that's why we use a masking layer, so we can kind of go back and forth and erase. So, or not erase to get it back. Okay, so that's right there. That's 100%. You can see how hard that brush is on that side. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and grab the hardness and brought it down lower, you can see that it's much softer. See how soft that brush is? Okay, it's much softer edges. All right, it looks a little bit more natural. So let's go ahead and just erase the ladder, and we also want to make sure that the shadows are being erased, and we can kind of get close. And if we go too close, you can see now we're starting to eat the person's foot up. All right, we're going to kind of let's zoom in. Anytime you want to get detailed, make sure you guys zoom in, okay? We're zooming in, woo, and we are getting back our eraser, and it's still erasing. We go ahead and click this, so black's on top, and then we're getting it back. All right. So now we're going to have to kind of mess around a little bit. So let's go a little bit smaller brush. So I can come up here and grab that brush. I can also, on my keyboard, get the brush next to the P. There's brackets, so if I click on those brackets, you can see it's bigger and it's getting smaller. All right. A little bit smaller, you get a little bit more detail. All right. Oh, white on top. We're going to erase. We just want to make sure we erase the ladder. And if we also want to make sure that we're using the same, like look at her knee and that tree. See how like the feathery it is? We want to make sure that we're using that same kind of feather. So if this was too hard, if I had it like too hard, okay, it's not going to look real. See how hard that looks, okay? And that does not look good. Like, right? You could tell that's cut versus this is like feathery. So you want to make sure that it's feather. So I'm thinking somewhere around here. It's not all right. Or using that. All right. That looks pretty close, right? So we're going to continue using that. Okay, we're going to grab this, erase that little green. Right, get details. Sometimes you have to zoom in even more. Okay, but again, guys, remember, I'm just doing this for the tutorial. You guys are going to spend more time really getting in there and doing that. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to zoom back. There she is. She's floating. Okay, I might want to put some more detail in here and kind of erase this a little bit more. All right, but that's essentially what you're going to be doing. She's so high up, I'm not going to worry about putting a shadow in. If she was down lower, I might want to think about doing a shadow. Shadows are actually pretty easy. So if I grab a new layer, okay, and went ahead and let's grab, let's say the top here, and grab something that has a shadow to it. All right, let's say like over here. All right, so I'm grabbing that color. Okay, and then I hit OK, and then I get my brush. I go big in my brush. Okay, and brought the opacity down, right, and then kind of just do a, oh, that's too. So I'm going to want to go ahead and grab a softer, so grab my hardness, all right, and kind of put a shadow in. And the opacity, I might even bring it down even lower. Okay, let me just show you kind of roughly. So it kind of gives you an idea of like a shadow. Okay, so you can kind of throw like a little shadow in here. And if that's too much, you know, obviously that's kind of bright. All right, and it wouldn't be directly like this tree. You see how this tree is? The shadow is way over here. So her shadow actually might be way over here, wouldn't it? Because the way the angle of the light is coming down. All right, so I might bring that over here, and I might bring the opacity down a little bit lighter. So she, like I said, she's so far up. I'm not gonna be like, I'm not even really gonna really worry about that. I mean, maybe that looks a little bit better. Okay, so actually, I think I do like that. All right, maybe not on this rock up there. I might get my eraser. Might as well use my masking layer. Get my eraser and then erase. So it's just putting that shadow up on that. Yeah, actually, I do like that. Okay, so there you go. So you know, I'm gonna do that in Photopea. All right. So in Photopea, you're gonna go to File. You're gonna go to Open. Oh, sorry, right here. You're gonna go to File. You're gonna go to Open, and you're gonna open up your images. Okay. Now I have my two images here. All right. You might have more images, but I just, for this demonstration, just doing two. So I'm going to grab this tool, this arrow, and I'm going to click and drag it. I'm going to put it right on top, put it on top of the, and then right on top, and then put this in. Now, listen, you guys, you know, if you guys are using Photopea, it's a free, but it's online, you know, and you're using, it's going to be slower. So expect that. Photoshop right now has a 30-day, 60-day trial. So if you're able to use Photoshop, I prefer Photoshop over Photopea, but Photopea is free. So all right, so I'm going to show you guys how to take this off. So this ladder out. So I'm going to go ahead and use a masking layer. And the same thing like Photoshop, okay? So I'm going to make sure I'm on the masking layer. I'm going to go grab my eraser. And see, it's exactly the same. So there's the size of the brush. I can change. The same brackets next to the P, I can increase or decrease. See the brush size? And I can also adjust my hardness. So if I clicked and dragged, and see how hard that brush is? I'm going to go ahead and erase that brush. And again, I'm erasing on the masking layer. And if I put black on top, okay, it's getting it back. And if this is not pure black and pure white, it needs to be in order for it to erase. You want to click on this little default, this little D, and that makes it black and white. Okay. So when white's on top, it's erasing. We want to go ahead and make sure the eraser, we're erasing the shadows. Okay. What a delay that photo B has, huh? But it works. We're going to zoom in, and we're going to get my eraser and erase. And now I'm going to want to go ahead and I'm actually using my brackets to get my next to the P, those two brackets, and I'm making it a little bit smaller. I'm going to, and when you want detail, zoom in. You know, really zoom in. Okay. So get my eraser, and if you hit E, that's a shortcut to get your eraser. Okay, and I'm erasing. And if you look at her knee and then the tree, see how feathery that is? That should give you an idea how feathery this should look. All right, and see how it's like a little bit too much. So I'm going to go a little bit, bring my hardness down. Okay, and then that's a little bit better. All right, actually that might be a little bit too much. All right, I'm going to erase. Actually, I'm going to grab some of that back. I erased too much of her leg. Bring that back. Yeah, I like that. Okay, now I'm going to put white on top. Now if you, instead of having to click here, you can use your X on your keyboard. Just hit the X key, and that moves it back and forth. So one finger on is using X, so I can go back and forth. I'm just erasing. Be really careful around the edge, okay? And I'm not real happy with this. So again, you guys, I'm just doing this as a quick tutorial. You know, you could, you know, you're gonna spend more time on that. All right. So look at this. Want to see like I can erase her head? Oop. What would that look like? It's gonna look freaky, right? now I'm just having fun, huh? Anyways, so yeah, that's a little bit too much. But anyways, that's so pretty much, you know, I showed you guys a little bit back and forth how to do that. You could also you could put filters on it. So if I go in and, you know, if you want to change your brightness and contrast, you can go in and make it a little bit more has a little bit more contrast or less contrast. Play around with that. I think you'll have it. You know what? Go on YouTube. Find like a really cool photo filter and play around with that with some of that, because there's a lot of things you could do. There's a lot of vibrance and hue and saturation, and um, there's some. Don't make it too crazy though. Okay, don't get too nuts. But you could put like a little neat filter over on top of it if you wanted to. All right. So kind of going back. So again, try to tell a story with your images of you know, of flotation or levitation of your of the project. All right. So I'm really excited. I can't wait to see what you guys have, what you guys come up with. All right. Good luck, guys.